football's governing body, the FA, has banned a teenage female footballer for 6 matches after she asked a referee if a trans opponent was a man. So the 18-year-old, who reportedly has ADHD and learning difficulties, said, quote, "Ref, have you checked if all of their players are eligible to play? Look at their keeper. And, for example, their number 10 is obviously a man." So she questioned the opponent's gender, right, and their aggressive style of play. And this isn't the first time the FA has been embroiled in a trans row. Just 3 months ago, a 17-year-old with suspected autism was handed a suspension for asking a trans opponent if they were a man, which, by the way, again, yes, they are. The answer to all of these questions is yes, they're a bloke. Football Association rules allow biological men to play in women's matches, believe it or not. I'm joined now by the Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters, Fiona McAnena. Thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. Look, first things first, how can it be fair that a biological woman, especially one with apparent learning difficulties anyway, gets banned for pointing out that there's a bloke playing up front for the other team?
I can't see how that can be fair. It's a women's league. They're women's football teams. No one expects to run out onto the field and see a bloke. And if they do, it seems completely reasonable to say, is that a man? And that's what happened. And now she can never say that again because she knows that she'll be suspended if she does. I mean, the irony is that if she said that to a woman, that would be, people would laugh it off and they'd move on and play the game. But because these people really are men claiming to be women, then the FA deems that to be gross misconduct.
But it's also coming from a place of safety. I mean, look, at its core level, it presumably might give the striker or goalkeeper, whoever it is, an unfair advantage in terms of size and strength, and maybe that would cause that team to lose the game. So there's that. But there is also just the safety aspect, isn't there? And if you're asking now, the FA appears to be asking young girls to ignore the fact that they might get hurt.
Yeah, they're putting them in a position where they're not allowed to speak up in defence of their own safety. Football's a very physical game. It's a full contact game. The difference between men and women in strength, particularly upper body strength, in speed and power is very significant. And these girls now, and all of her teammates, of course, know too, that if they see male players in the opposition, they have to keep quiet. You know, and I've talked to other women who've had to play trans players in the past, and they say you just don't even tackle because if you go in for a tackle, you just get shouldered off the ball, you land on the ground. If you get injured, that's you out. So they end up not able to play at all. Some women have said to me, the game ends up being a farce.
Yeah, there was a story that I covered about a year or so ago. A girl had her leg broken, for goodness sake, by a man who was playing in the other team. I worry about the direction of travel with this because we are seeing more people identifying as women. And if they realise that they can do this and get away with it, what is the future like in 10 years' time? We've got women's football leagues just full of men and the odd woman.
Yeah, I mean, just when it's starting to be financially viable for women to make a living playing football, the same is true in cricket. Which is mostly a self-ID model, which means that you don't even have to lower testosterone if you're a man. You don't even have to say you have. You just turn up, say you're a woman. So the other problem is that football's going to get worse because the big 3 sports in this country, swimming, cycling, athletics, where most people participate, they've all changed their rules. They've said, this isn't fair, we have a women's category, so that female people can excel at sport and win. And letting male people into that, doesn't matter how they identify, it's just not fair. So that means that football is going to get all those guys. It's the next biggest sport that has not yet reinstated a female category.
Well, where's Gary Lineker on this? You know, he's very vocal about some other causes out there, isn't he? And he's got a right to be when he's not employed by the BBC, of course. He pipes up about Gaza every now and again. He talks about being all virtuous and all of this stuff. Sorry, Gary, what about the rights of young girls to go and play? I mean, would you like to see him pipe up about this, do you think?
I'd love to hear what Gary Lineker has to say about this. People keep asking him when he puts a call out saying what should he cover on his podcast, but somehow this never gets to the top of his list.
Yeah, I find it absolutely astonishing. I mean, the FA should hang their heads in shame when it comes to this stuff. But the other aspect to it is we've spoken a lot about what goes on the pitch there. Well, it's the changing rooms as well. And where would this end for the FA? So if that particular young lady in question had said what she'd said, but to a referee and said, look, I'm in a shared changing room here and there's a man in my changing room. So it's not nothing to do with football necessarily. Would she still have then got a 6-match ban for not wanting to shower with a man?
Yeah, I think if that man was someone who claimed to be a woman and was, registered with the FA to play in the women's game, then I think she would be severely punished for that. And of course, what people often don't realise is there's nothing to tell you when someone who looks like a man claims to be a woman or identifies as a woman. He still looks like a man to most of us.
Yeah.
They've not necessarily changed anything about themselves. And so why is it reasonable to expect a teenage girl to share changing rooms with someone like that? But right now, the way the FA rules are, she's the one who's in trouble if she objects.
That's just absolutely bonkers, isn't it? The lengths that people will go to jump through hoops for, people who, in my view, are cheating and who are knowingly cheating. I don't see why you would want... Because you could play in a men's league. If you are a man, you could go and play in a men's league. And I don't care what anyone says, you wouldn't get a load of man. You wouldn't get a load of stick. I mean, people rock up on a Sunday morning on Hackney Marshes or whatever. There's all sorts of different people there. No one's getting, So there's not a barrier to that trans person going and playing in a men's football team. There isn't. I think the idea that you go and play in a women's team is, in my view, because you want to cheat, or you've maybe you do enjoy the changing rooms a bit too much. I don't know, but look, thank you very much anyway. We're run out of time, but it's great to have you. Great to have you on the show. It's Fiona McAnena there, who is the director of campaigns at Sex Matters. An FA spokesperson has said the case was heard by an independent national serious case panel in November 2024. They issued a sanction for a breach of FA rules. The charges were immediately accepted by the player, and the outcome was the minimum sanction that could have been issued for the case of this nature. The player did not appeal the sanction. We regularly review our processes, so there we go.